Ask the therapist. That's me, soy yo. We're going to talk about self-compassion, self-worth, and self-care. I'm answering your questions, Mended Light. All right, how do I stop putting myself down? I would ask yourself why you do that. Like, what are you getting out of it? Because everything we do makes sense to us. Everything we do is for a reason, even if that reason is subconscious. So the question I would ask and really sit with is, what am I getting out of putting myself down? And the knee-jerk reaction is nothing. And if I was in therapy with someone and they said nothing, I'd say, sure, but push yourself. What are you getting out of putting yourself down? And sometimes I would sit there in silence with them for a few minutes while they work this out. Some of the answers that I've heard to that question are, I feel like I'm bad and I deserve to be punished. And if I put myself down, then in this weird way, I feel better because the punishment happened. Or I put myself down because I'm just continuing the baton that was handed to me by my parents, by my siblings, by my coworkers, by people in school. I was told by so many people. And so I just continue that. So ask yourself, why? Because the answer of how to stop requires you to understand why. In all cases, it's all about embracing who you are. It's about giving yourself compassion and seeing your worth. And I'll address that in a second. But first, if you're putting yourself down to punish yourself, then the core belief is I am bad. If you're putting yourself down because you were handed the baton from other people who insulted you and put you down, big part of that solution is recognizing they put me down to make themselves feel better. They put me down because of their own biases, their own prejudices, their own bigotry, all having something to do with who or how I am. They put me down because they're the type of insecure, hurting people who hurt others. They did not put me down because I'm less worthy. They did not put me down because I'm broken, or because I'm a joke, or because I'm pathetic. They put me down because that's how they saw me. But the fact is, people who are cruel look for targets. And they're often cruel because that's what they've learned, and they're hurting themselves. A person who is cruel to me is only holding up a mirror to themselves. Now, when it comes to self-love, self-worth, self-compassion, not putting yourself down, and draw a line down the center, and on one side I put, I release the belief, and on the other side I put the heading, I embrace the truth. And then I list all of the negative things I say to myself when I put myself down. I release the belief that I'm pathetic. And I go across to the next side, I embrace the truth that I have value same as anybody. I release the belief that I'm a loser. I embrace the truth that my failures are learning and growing experiences. And then I just fill that out. I create new neural pathways with I embrace the truth. And then I repeat that list every day. I pull it out and I add to it and I repeat it out loud, because what I'm doing is creating new neural pathways, new ways of thinking about myself so that I'm not putting myself down all the time. How do you fight crippling self-doubt, especially as a person of faith? It feels like I shut down whenever I make a decision, especially one I feel could be morally wrong. Okay, so I'm going to do a tiny bit of pastoral counseling, and if that's not of interest to you, because if you're watching and you're not a person of faith, just skip ahead to the next question. But for me, I recognize that when it comes to getting things morally wrong, quote unquote, all I can do is act according to my conscience. All I can do is act according to the knowledge I have at the time. All I can do is consult my higher power and then choose whatever path feels peaceful. And I figure there's a lot of human error in our spiritual experience. I do believe there's a God. I believe I'm going to meet God one day. And my opinion is God's going to say to me, you acted according to your conscience. When you stumbled, you made it right. You got some things wrong because you couldn't see everything clearly. And, I'm a Christian, so it's like, that's why I sent him to cover for that. And then as far as crippling self-doubt, from a faith perspective, you are a child of God, so you're full of capacity and ability and potential. And there's nothing to doubt. That's just a mind game. That's a mental prison you put yourself in. And you can literally just walk right out of it. By recognizing it for what it is, it's like Neo stopping the bullets in the Matrix. Once he realizes these bullets aren't real, they can't hurt him anymore, and he can literally just choose something else. How do I stop wanting to be perfect while both hating myself and the world for not being perfect? That's intense. I feel like I don't accept my limitations and don't even know many of them, while simultaneously hating myself for being a loser. How is it even possible to feel such contradictory things? Somewhere along the way, you were given a whole lot of conditional love. You were taught that if you don't make a mistake, if you are perfect, if you get this right, then you are good enough, then you will be accepted. And you were very likely harshly criticized for getting it wrong, for making mistakes, for not being perfect. And you've internalized that. You've internalized that belief that I have to be perfect to be good enough. For starters, here's your therapy homework. Watch Inside Out 2. The whole I'm not good enough wound that Riley carries and how she works through it and how her emotions help her work through it by embracing all of her. You don't have to wait to be perfect to be happy. In fact, I would recognize that if you wait for that, you will literally spend your days unhappy and miserable. You have no choice. If you want to experience happiness, you have to embrace imperfection because you will not achieve perfection in your life. You can get closer to it, but that will just mean you're a little less miserable. Okay? You have to embrace that you are a person with flaws and weaknesses, same as anybody else. And you talk about this. You talk about hating yourself and hating the world for its imperfections. So there's a core belief there that my imperfections make me unlovable, and so do everybody else's. And it's a very simple question I ask. What type of life is that? Either all of us deserve love, even with our weaknesses, or none of us do. And you seem to be choosing the path that none of us do. And my question is that serving you? Is that helping you? Is that who you want to be? So again, with the list that I was just talking about, I release the belief that I'm unlovable because of my imperfections. I accept the truth that I am lovable and I'm imperfect. And it's a phrase Alicia shares. You are perfect just the way you are, and there's room for growth. And I think it comes down to, instead of wanting to be perfect, perfect is not attainable, growth is attainable. So I release the belief that I should strive for perfection, and I accept the truth that I should strive for growth and being better today than I was yesterday, and learning from my mistakes and learning from my experiences. How do I stop negative thinking over losing my job, and how to build up my confidence at work as an autistic adult? How do I stop beating myself up when people give me constructive criticism and feedback? Recognize that constructive criticism and feedback is not an attack on your character, your worth, or your value. Your worth already exists by virtue of being a human being. You have it. You have worth. You have strengths, you have weaknesses. Everybody has strengths or weaknesses. They have worth, you have worth. Embrace it, accept it, because constructive criticism and feedback is just saying, here's how you can do your job better. Here's how you can show up better for the team. Here's how you can make things easier for yourself and for everybody else. And remind yourself, it's not an insult and it's not an attack on my character. It's feedback. In mature adult relationships, we receive feedback so that we can meet each other's needs better. That's just how it works. So instead of seeing that as something to be feared or avoided, or I just wish people wouldn't see my flaws, step into, I have flaws and I value feedback because it helps me to grow. As far as losing your job and building confidence, I would recognize that a lot of very talented, accomplished people have been fired. You look at anybody who's done good work in the world, 98% of them have been fired from one job or another. It's just part of the human experience. You're not a loser if someone breaks up with you. It's a breakup. They happen. You're not a loser if you get fired. It happens. Normalize it. Recognize that you're not in some special class of losers because you lost your job. You're part of the human race, and that's okay. But if you can take from that experience, how can I do it differently next time? How can I grow from this? Then that's a positive. What is a better way to cope with self-loathing? Well, we have a course on our membership site called Being at Peace. And a big part of being at peace is recognizing that self-loathing doesn't get you anywhere. Building on some things I've already said in this video, in my personal journey, because I had self-loathing for 30 plus years, like 35 years of my life, that was my biggest struggle in life. And what helped me out of it was recognizing that the behaviors that were contributing to my self-loathing weren't getting any better by hating myself, by judging myself, by shaming myself. I just kept turning back to the very things that would make me feel ashamed and would lead to self-judgment. It was only when I completely accepted, this is who I am, this is where I'm at. A year from now, I aim to be better. 5 years from now, even better. 10 years from now, to keep growing. It wasn't until I did that and then I looked at myself and said, I'm going to take care of this man because I love him. Instead of, oh, you're such a loser, why don't you change, you suck. The latter energy didn't get me anywhere, and I had decades of personal anecdotal data to support that. So I looked down at hating myself some more, loathing myself some more, and I said, I already know that's not going to work, so let's try something else. What is the difference between pride and self-respect? Pride is a word that means a lot of different things for different people. I think there's a healthy connotation, right, of being proud of who you are and having self-respect, of standing tall and saying, this is me. And there's kind of a more scriptural, old school version of pride. Pride cometh before the fall, right? That's ego, that's vanity, that's self-righteousness, that's I'm better than somebody else. I think self-respect is I like who I am, I'm confident in what I'm good at, but I don't get that from comparison. I don't need to be superior to somebody else. In fact, if I like who I am and I have self-respect, then I want to give that to other people, help them to find that in themselves, and I'm not threatened when they find it, and if I contribute to them finding it. Whereas pride is, well, you have to suck so I can succeed, and I have to dress you down and take you down a peg. How to deal with grief for the unrealized. I wanted a loving partner and a number of children. I will never have that. How to deal with the sadness that is always there under the surface and doesn't leave. I would question why you would never have that. I mean, definitely, with age, maybe you can't physically have children anymore. Why you may never have a partner, because you feel like I haven't had one, so maybe I never will. I've known any number of people who find romantic love and partnership later in life. But the real issue here is I have in my mind a life that I believed would make me happy, and it's the life I wanted, and it hasn't happened, and it may never happen, so now it feels hopeless. Instead of stepping into the belief and the knowledge, again, I release the belief, I accept the knowledge. I release the belief that I can only be happy with a partner and with children. I accept the knowledge that I can have a fulfilling life full of loving relationships and connection and meaning by doing things that I'm passionate about, by doing things that help other people, and by growing myself as a person. You had this life you wanted. How do you grieve it? By feeling sad about it, but not stewing in hopelessness. One of my very best friends, he's in his 40s. In fact, I've been hanging out with him this week. He grew up wanting a wife, wanting kids. He has never had it. And he's been alone this whole time. And he is legitimately one of the happiest people I know. How does he do it? He does it by being centered on what light can I put into the world? What love can I put into the lives of the people I come across? And how can I fill my life with connections and pursuits that I'm passionate about and that I enjoy? Is he sad sometimes about not having a romantic partner, having kids? Yes. But he doesn't let that stop him from living a fulfilling life. And I would encourage you to do something similar. So what questions do you all have for me based on the answers I've been giving? Or what answers would you give to any of the questions that I responded to today? Let us know in the comments below. I've got another video for you to watch right now that's going to build on this. Finding your worth. How can you find your worth and really hold on to it and feel that contentment and that confidence from living with that? That's what this video addresses. Link is somewhere on screen. Click on that. Until next time, folks. Keep shining. We need your light.